Hello, friends. This is Melvin Hinton, your host for Radio Literature. It's 7:30 p.m. Central Time in Madison, Wisconsin, and you're listening to WORT 89.9 FM, Radio Literature, and I'm here with my special guests, the Madison Shakespeare Company, starting with Jason Compton, their managing producer, and then we have Ian Is it Hathway or Hathaway?
Hathway.
Hathway. Okay, I thought Jason had made a mistake, but he hadn't. Bree Hunter and Emily Morrison Weeks. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes. Jason, when was, tell us again, I've asked you this before, but some of our listeners, they miss a program now and then. So when was the Madison Shakespeare Company created?
Our first show was in 2012, and we've been producing Shakespeare with increasing regularity since then, although we are going a little bit off the beaten track this summer with one of our programs, which is not only not by Shakespeare, but is by an unknown author, and a little bit earlier than Shakespeare, and we'll talk about how Shakespeare dipped his oar in and maybe took things a little off course.
Uh-huh. And let's see, you are playing, is that Perilous? Is that the pronunciation, or Perilous?
Oh, you're ready to talk about the true Chronicle history of King Lear, are you?
Yeah.
Yes, I will be playing Perilous in the true Chronicle history of King Lear, which is a play that many listeners might not be aware of. Many people know already that Shakespeare based many of his plays on legends or myths or stories or scripts that had come before. And usually they've heard that Romeo and Juliet is based on other stories, or Troilus and Cressida are based on these Greek legends. But King Lear is one that not everybody realizes was not Shakespeare's creation. And it turns out that some decades before Shakespeare's version, there was a play called The True Chronicle History of King Lear. And it's that we are bringing to audiences in Milwaukee in just a few days.
Let's see. So I believe this is is it the first time since we've been collaborating that you're actually playing a part in one of these plays?
Oh no! It's funny you should mention that. I even though I feel that people don't recognize that I'm in literally every single one of Madison Shakespeare's Company productions, but that you've reinforced where I'm actually going to use that as a bit in an upcoming show.
Oh, so let's see. So you're playing Perilous in King Lear.
Yeah.
And that's not Shakespeare's King Lear, of course. And it actually has different spelling.
It does. It's got different spelling. It's got some different characters, and it's got a different ending. And we do have the two kind of central characters with us tonight. We have King Lear, which is Leir, and that's Ian. Hello. And Bree Hunter, who was introduced, is playing Lear's good daughter, Cordelia. Not Cordelia, but Cordelia.
Yes.
So obviously, Jason is still perfect. I mean, he doesn't make mistakes. I mean,
No mistakes.
because you picked this up, you think, oh, this is a typographical error.
No,
Nope.
It's not.
No,
He got everything perfect, as he always does.
The people who are making the mistakes are the people at Optimus Theater in Milwaukee, because they chose to produce William Shakespeare's King Lear, which is longer, more violent, more bloody,
Has a
frankly
sad
more
ending.
depressing.
Yeah, but I was just referring to spelling. Just referring to spelling. Okay. So, so why don't we just have a scene to
Sure, we
let
could.
our listeners hear a little bit of this King Lear, who is not Shakespeare's.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about this scene. In this scene, we have Perilous and Lear wandering, hungry, starving, really, through France. They've ironically been banished by the two daughters that Lear kept around, and they come across Cordelia, who is doing just fine in France after being banished by her father. And there's a bit of a mistaken identity in this scene, and so why don't you have a listen and see what happens?
Ah, my Perilous, now I see we both shall end our days in this unfruitful soil. Oh, I do faint for want of sustenance.
Ah, my dear lord, how doth my heart lament to see you brought to this extremity.
Ah, Britain, I shall never see thee more. that hast unkindly banished thy king, and yet thou dost not make me to complain, but they which were more near to me than thou.
What do I hear? This lamentable voice, methinks, ere now I oftentimes have heard.
Ah, poor Cordelia, did I give thee naught, nor never shall be able for to give?
Alack, that ever I should live to see my noble father in this misery!
God save you, friend, and if this blessed banquet affordeth any food or sustenance, even for her sake that saved us all from death, vouchsafe to save me from the gripe of famine.
Here, father, sit and eat. Here, sit and drink, and would it were far better for your sake.
The thanks be his, and these kind, courteous folk, by whose humanity we are preserved.
And may that draught be unto him, as was that which old Aeson drank, which did renew his withered age, and made him young again. And may that meat be unto him, as was that which Elias ate, in strength whereof he walked 40 days, and never fainted. Shall I conceal me longer from my father? Or shall I manifest myself to him?
Ah, who would think such kindness should remain among such strange and unacquainted men, and that such hate should harbour in the breast of those which have occasion to be best?
Ah, good old father, tell to me thy grief. I'll sorrow with thee, if not add relief.
Ah, good young daughter, I may call thee so, for thou art like a daughter I did owe.
Do you not owe her still? What, is she dead?
No, God forbid, but all my interest's gone. By showing myself too much unnatural, so have I lost the title of a father, and may be called a stranger to her rather.
Your title's good still, for 'tis always known, a man may do as him list with his own.
Then know this first, I am a Briton born, and had 3 daughters by one loving wife. And now I am constrained to seek relief of her to whom I have been so unkind, whose censure, if it do award me death, I must confess she pays me but my due. But if she show a loving daughter's part, it comes of God and her, not my desert.
No doubt she will. I dare be sworn she will.
How know you that, not knowing what she is?
Myself, a father, have a great way hence used me as ill as ever you did her. Yet, that his reverend age I once might see, I'd creep along to meet him on my knee.
Oh, no men's children are unkind, but mine.
Condemn not all because of others' crime. But look, dear father, look, behold, and see, thy loving daughter speaketh unto thee.
Oh, stand thou up, it is my part to kneel, and ask forgiveness for my former faults.
You brought me up, when as I was but young, and far unable to help myself.
I cast thee forth, when as thou wast but young, and far unable for to help thyself.
God, world, and nature say I do you wrong that can endure to see you kneel so long.
Let me break off this loving controversy, which doth rejoice my very soul to see. Good father, rise. She is your loving daughter, and honors you with as respective duty as if you were the monarch of the world.
But I will never rise from off my knee, until I have your blessing and your pardon of all my faults committed any way from my first birth unto this present day.
Thy faults, which are just none that I do know, God pardon on high, and I forgive below.
Now is my heart at quiet, and doth leap within my breast for joy of this good hap. And now, dear father, welcome to our court, and welcome, kind Perillus, unto me, mirror of virtue and true honesty.
Oh, she hath been the kindest friend to me that ever man had in adversity.
So, you're listening to Radio Literature on WORT 89.9 FM, and that was a scene from King Lear. That's Lear, L-E-I-R, not Shakespeare's Lear. And that was Ian Hathway in the role of King Lear, Bree Hunter in the role of Cordelia, his daughter, and a little bit of output from Perillus, played by Jason Compton. And now I'm wondering, Ian, since I was just told that you were, or you just told me that you spent 2 years or so in were you in England or in some other part?
I was in London, yes.
In London, okay. And may I ask what you were doing there? Was this professional?
I actually did my master's in ensemble theatre the first year that I was in London, and then was a combination of things. I was working as an actor and dancer, essentially in volunteer capacities, because I was also awaiting a decision on my visa from the Home Office of the United Kingdom.
And I'm wondering, since you must have observed, I don't know what exactly your training was there while you were there, but you must have observed some differences, or if there are any differences in the training of actors there in England and here in the United States.
It's actually a bit of an interesting case because I didn't do a lot of actor training while I was here in the States. I only ever took 2 acting classes while I was at college, and I actually majored in literature and English instead. And my master's program was much more based actually around Polish theater practice, contemporary Polish theater, which is really heavily movement and song-based and a lot less traditional in its presentation of material.
I've just been sitting here in admiration of your voice and wondering, who trained you. That's where that question came from, and also Bree. There were moments when you made my whole being vibrate with just some of those phrases that you uttered, and I'm just wondering about your voice training. Both of you and all of you in general.
Sure, yeah. Well, actually, I'm a student at UW-Madison right now, and I'm a theater and drama major, and I've only taken 1 voice class so far. It was the introductory one, so that's about all I've done for voice, but it was really helpful, I think.
In the masters, we had voice on Wednesday for about 4 hours from a fantastic voice coach or voice teacher called Ben Joyner, and mostly what we worked on was Linklater Technique, which is all work pioneered by Kristen Linklater.
And could you tell us in a few seconds what that involves?
Linklater Technique is based on sort of the elevator speech is a 2-year-old can walk into a room and silence or outshout a room of adults, and we kind of lose that ability as we get older because we block our natural voice with habitual tensions and things of that nature. And so a lot of Linklater Technique is working on release and relaxation to the point that we can allow our voice to come out of us as opposed to trying to force it out.
And just a general question for Emily and Jason, including the two of you, about voice work. Is this something that you have to work on continually, or were you trained and that's the end of it, so everything is automatic now? Or
I think it's a combination of both, really. Yeah.
We certainly all have we've had various training in voice in some ways. Some of us sing, some of us have taken voice classes, things like that. And that definitely teaches certain skills, but for me at least, it's very much a constant thing that I have to remind myself about. I have to remind myself to let my voice sit where it wants to, as opposed to kind of pushing it out. And there's a lot of technical things that go into that, but it is something I have to remind myself about.
Anything to add there?
I was just inwardly reflecting that, the relaxation that Ian was talking about was key because, there are times when I'll still step into a voice booth and realize that I'm getting anxious for no good reason, and that does affect what's going to come out and be recorded. So, if you can relax that and feel natural in what you're doing, that actually does a lot of the work for you.
Now you said a voice booth? What are you referring to?
Every once in a while, I'll be called in to, it happens every once in a while to do a recording, in a studio setting.
Oh, yeah. Now, Emily, you are the director of this production of King Lear. Now, how did that come about? Did you volunteer, or did somebody draft you? Did you have to audition as the director? How does this work?
What happened for this project was actually that Jason said, "Hey, I found this interesting, very old script. Why don't you take a look at it?" And I did, and we thought it would be a great thing to take to Milwaukee. Optimist Theater Company in Milwaukee had reached out to Madison Shakespeare and had invited us to bring something to contribute before they do their main stage King Lear at Shakespeare in the Park.
See, they were fools. They gave us carte blanche, and we decided to dig up the true story of King Lear, which will tell people everything they need to know about this great king of the early Britons, his lovely, loyal daughter, the two of them riding triumphantly off into the sunset. People are not going to need to sit there and listen to the agony and the blood and the just the anguish of that. Frankly, we say that usually Shakespeare elevates the work that he does when he comes along. After working through the true chronicle history of King Lear, I think we found an obvious miss here. And once people see the truth, they're not going to want to see the fraud.
Absolutely. I can echo everything Jason is saying, and we'll definitely prove our point upon the stage. Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah? So, now, is this something that we might look forward to in the near or distant future here in Madison?
That's an interesting question. Right now we only have the 4 performances set in Milwaukee, but Madison Shakespeare Company does have a habit of doing pop-up shows and introducing and reworking old material. So now it's a thing that we feel good about. It's part of our repertoire, so it absolutely could come up.
Well, I hope so. So Emily Morrison Weeks.
Yes.
So in addition to directing, and what is the exact title of the King Lear thing again?
It's The True Chronicle History of King Lear.
The True Chronicle History of King Lear. In addition to directing that one, you're also playing Octavius in Sloshed, Antony and Cleopatra.
I sure
am.
Right?
What is that?
So first of all, I get to play Octavius and Octavia, which you'll see in the scene that we brought. It's super fun to be 2 people, a brother and a sister. So Sloshed A&C is going to be tons of fun. It's an abridged version of Antony and Cleopatra that Madison Shakespeare has put together. We have a small ensemble of actors, and we go and one actor gets chosen. We drink. Yeah. One actor gets chosen at random to drink a little more than the others. We're safe about it, but it's super fun, and we do. There is drinking on stage, enforced by a stage manager who is sort of a character. Actually, totally
Janice
a character.
Is a character.
Yep.
Yeah.
She calls us out if we mess up a line. We have to take a drink. If we call for a line, we also have to take a drink.
Ah, yes.
Yep. But then we also have a great respect for the text too. So it's a great balance of comedy and like physical comedy and also some serious bits too. It's a great mixture.
Yeah, we did 4 shows with Sloshed Macbeth last year to great response, and bringing back another text that we'd done, because we did Antony and Cleopatra in earnest, full production, full cast in 2013, and it seemed a natural choice. And just because the dynamics, the rivalries and the lovers and the passion are so strong in A&C, that it's easy to see how those can be enhanced by just a little extra sauce.
Yes, yes. And speaking of calling lines and so forth, what's I can never remember the name, the person that used to be, I guess, in all theaters where an actor forgot a line or something.
Prompter.
A prompter. Have they just disappeared now from the theater?
No, often there is a stage manager who's still following the play on book, and if there is an absolute meltdown emergency, it will happen. And then in some very high-tech productions, if an actor is really struggling, now they can just put a little earpiece in his or her ear and essentially whisper it in there, and nobody's any the wiser. Until the expose happens.
We won't have those earpieces, though. We will only have Tanis.
We will only have Tanis, and she exacts a price. Would you like to hear some of Antony?
Yes, please.
Right. So this is a scene. This is an excerpt from Act 2. There's the triumvirate has taken over after assassinating Julius Caesar, but things are a little rough between Octavius and Mark Antony. So Mark Antony has been called back from Egypt, and Ian's going to stand in and play Agrippa for us. Emily is Octavius in the full production, and I will be playing Mark Antony.
All right. Welcome to Rome.
Thank you.
Sit.
Sit, sir.
Nay then.
I learn you take things ill which are not so, or being concern you not. My being in Egypt, what was to you?
No more than my residing here at Rome might be to you in Egypt. Yet, if you there did practice on my state, your being in Egypt might be my question.
How intend you practiced?
You may remember that your wife and brother made wars upon me, and their contestation was theme for you. You were the word of war.
You do mistake your business. My brother never did urge me in his act. Did he not rather discredit my authority with yours, and make the wars alike against my stomach, having alike your cause?
You praise yourself by laying defects of judgment to me, but you patched up your excuses. You have broken the article of your oath, which you never have tongue to charge me with.
Soft, Caesar.
No, Agrippa, let him speak. The honor is sacred which he talks on now, supposing that I lacked it. But on, Caesar, the article of my oath.
To lend me arms and aid when I require them, the both which you denied.
Neglected, rather. Know now the truth is that Fulvia, my wife, to have me out of Egypt, made wars here, for which myself, the ignorant motive, do so far ask pardon as befits mine honor, to stoop in such a case.
'Tis noble spoken. If it might please you, give me leave, Caesar.
Speak, Agrippa.
Thou hast a sister by the mother's side, admired Octavia. Great Mark Antony is now a widower.
Say not so, Agrippa. If Cleopatra heard you, your reproof were well deserved of rashness.
I am not married, Caesar. Let me hear Agrippa further speak.
To hold you in perpetual amity, to make you brothers, and to knit your heart with an unslipping knot, take Antony Octavia to his wife. Her love to both would, each to other, and all loves to both, draw after her.
Will Caesar speak?
Not till he hears how Antony is touched with what is spoke already.
Give me thy hand. Further this act of grace, and, from this hour, the heart of brothers govern in our loves and sway our great designs.
There is my hand. A sister I bequeath you. Let her live to join our kingdoms and our hearts. I do invite you to my sister's view, whither straight I'll lead you.
The world and my great office will sometimes divide me from your bosom.
All which time before the gods my knee shall bow my prayers to them for you.
Good night, sir. My Octavia, read not my blemishes in the world's report. I have not kept my square, but that to come shall all be done by the rule. Good night, dear lady.
Good night, sir. Good night.
The very dice obey Octavius, and in our sports my better cunning faints under his chance. So I will to Egypt, and though I make this marriage for my peace, in the east my pleasure lies.
So that was Emily Morrison Weeks, Jason Compton, and Ian Hathway in Sloshed, Antony and Cleopatra. And are you doing this one in Milwaukee as well?
No, this is Madison.
Madison,
okay. We'll be opening that July 28th at Capitol Brewery, and we have 3 more shows in August after that. We'll be at the Brink Lounge August 3rd and 17th, and at High Noon Saloon on August 8th.
Okay.
So 4 shows.
So we'll try to announce that again between now and the 28th.
Wonderful,
fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, I feel so honored to be sitting here with you. I mean, really, it's a privilege.
Well, and it's a joy for us to be able to bring the joys of these texts because, you know, like Emily said, we are still doing Shakespeare, or in the case of King Lear, we are still doing an anonymous author who wrote some good stuff. And it's fine and good to keep both thoughts in your head that, yes, these are interesting, important texts that have been carefully crafted, and they also can be fun.
Yes.
And they can be made fun through choices we make, through choices the audience makes, and how they watch and how they listen and how they experience it.
Yes. Do you have understudies?
No, we don't have any understudies, although every once in a while things do happen, and sometimes actors jump in the last minute to replace certain, if something goes wrong.
Indeed.
And sometimes the emergency replacement is an exciting new option, and we're very happy that Ian was able to step in and play King Lear on such short notice.
Yes,
he was
we
being
are.
very modest about
I didn't
that.
realize
Thank you,
that.
Ian.
Yeah.
Yep. How many rehearsals have you had with us, Ian?
I have had 2 rehearsals, and I shall have 1 more, and then the show immediately following
He's
that.
doing great.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And Let's see. We have a few more minutes left. I'm just wondering, do any of you actually make a living from the theater, and you don't have to do anything else on the side, or?
That's very challenging to do in this market, and I'll let other people speak to that. But no, I half jokingly have said, like, well, people talk about working actors in Madison. Well, I know what Karen's doing, but there's kind of nobody else. So yes, Madison Shakespeare Company is fundamentally a volunteer fueled organization because to pay everybody exactly what they would be worth, and they would be worth it, is very challenging without a very deep donor base and much higher ticket prices than frankly we are willing to charge.
Yes.
I don't think anybody at this table this moment is making their living from the theater.
Not our primary living, anyway.
Are all of you looking forward to directing if you haven't already directed, or are some people just actors and have no directorial ambitions?
Well, I haven't directed yet, but there may be an opportunity for me at school to direct something. Not sure yet, but hopefully sometime in the future I'll be able to direct, because right now I've just been focusing on acting, but it would be nice to branch out.
Yes. So all of you have directed.
Yes.
The other three of us have, Ian, Emily, and myself have all directed at least one short scene for Madison Shakespeare.
And I've also directed a couple of school productions, working with a friend on Much Ado About Nothing, and also a collection of short plays by a friend of mine, which I directed in Germany.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
Oh,
I directed As You Like It for Madison Shakespeare last summer, and I've directed for a couple of other local companies in Madison as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, our time is practically up. But I will ask one last question. Is this I'll ask Bree particularly, because I think she's probably the youngest person here. All of you are very young, but she's even younger than the rest of you, I think. Have you done Shakespeare at the university?
Yes, I have. I have been doing Shakespeare for a little while now. Since high school, at least. That's when I pretty much started. So I've been doing it for a while. I took a 2-year course in high school, so that really, I got into it a lot then, because I really delved deep into it and started getting into it then. And I love it, so I've been continuing to do it now. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, our time is actually up, and I'll have to save most of these questions for the next time. So thank you, Madison Shakespeare Company, for being with us here on Radio Literature. And for all of you listening, we'll see you again next week at the same time. Good night.